Put all of us in a room, Magic, Jordan, myself, and Bird. Bird probably be the guy who walks out of the room at the end of the day.
Three-point contest at the All-Star break, and Larry walks in and says, I hope all you guys in here are thinking about second place because I'm winning this.
I said, Larry, how do you make all those shots? Just like that. He said, I do all that all the time.
Trash talk is an art. Some players dabble in it, some players avoid it, and then there are those who master it. If you watched the NBA in the 90s, you knew that no one talked more than Gary Payton. The man was relentless. Every possession, every dribble, every shot, you were going to hear his voice in your ear whether you liked it or not. And most players, they simply couldn't handle it. It threw them off, they got frustrated, they got distracted, and most importantly, they lost. That's what made Gary Payton so dangerous. He wasn't just locking you up on defense, he was breaking you down mentally. But here's the thing, there was one guy Payton couldn't out-talk. One guy that even the glove had to admit was in a different class when it came to talking smack. And that guy was Larry Bird. Yes, the same Larry Bird that looked more like a factory worker than an NBA superstar. The same guy that some players assumed was slow, unathletic, and easy to guard, until they find themselves down 15 with him talking in their ear about how easy this was for him. This is the story of how Larry Bird, one of the greatest trash talkers of all time, left even Gary Payton at a loss for words. Let's talk about Gary Payton for a second. When we say he was an elite trash talker, we're not talking about the occasional insult or a few words here and there. No, Payton's entire game was built on talking every dribble, every play, every stop. It wasn't just for fun, it was a psychological weapon. His defense was already elite. 9-time NBA All-Defensive First Team, the only point guard to ever win Defensive Player of the Year at that time. But his words, they were just as effective as his steals and clamps. Payton didn't care who you were. He was talking to everyone, and I mean everyone. Michael Jordan, he talked to him and held him to his lowest scoring average in a final series. Reggie Miller, oh, they went at it plenty of times. Kevin Garnett, another legendary talker, but Payton had no problem firing back. In fact, Payton himself said that there were only a handful of guys that he really respected when it came to trash talking. He said most players either didn't say anything or their coaches told them to be quiet so they wouldn't wake up the beast. But Payton loved those guys who gave it right back to him. He looked forward to it. He wanted that challenge. He thrived in those situations. So for him to say that Larry Bird was on another level, well, that means something. Here's what makes Bird different. Most trash talkers, Payton included, talk to get inside their opponent's heads. They try to rattle them, make them second guess themselves, get them off their game. But Bird didn't talk to rattle you. He talked because he knew you couldn't stop him. He talked because it was the truth. He would tell you exactly what he was going to do, where he was going to shoot from, how he was going to score, and then he would go out and do it. And you were powerless to stop it.
Larry Bird will tell you where he wanted to go. He'll shoot it in your face. He'll tell you, I'll give you a Christmas present.
Think about the level of confidence you need to do that. It wasn't arrogance, it wasn't overconfidence, it was just plain factual. Reggie Miller once tried to mess with Bird at the free throw line. You know what happened? Bird turned to him and said, I'm the best shooter in the league. Then he calmly drained the second free throw like it was nothing. That's cold-blooded no matter how you slice it. This is why Bird's trash talk was so different. It wasn't just talk, it was backed up by results every single time, every single game. Now here's where it gets a little interesting. Payton only played against Bird a couple of times. Bird was dealing with injuries by that point in his career, and their matchups were limited. But even in those few encounters, Payton quickly realized something. Bird was a talker, and not just a regular talker, a different kind of talker. Payton said, and I quote, I didn't really know he was like that, but he was a chatterbox, and he was cocky and arrogant. He'd go at you and tell you where he was going to shoot it, and tell you how he was going to score the ball, and then shoot the ball right in your face. It's important we re-emphasize, this is coming from Gary Payton, the guy who never backed down from anyone. And here's what made Bird even more dangerous. Payton was used to players reacting when he talked to them. Some would get frustrated, some would get rattled, but Bird, he absolutely loved it. Trash talk fueled him. If you tried to get in his head, it only made him better. Just like Payton, and he knew that someone and something was different about Bird. And that brings us to an important question. Where has trash talk gone in today's NBA? In Bird's era, in Payton's era, the game was just as much about mental toughness as it was about skill. These guys played for pride. They played to embarrass their opponents. They wanted to outwork you, outthink you, and make you remember their name. And today, we still see glimpses of it. Guys like Draymond Green, Patrick Beverley when he was in the league, and even Luka Doncic bring some of that old school fire, but the NBA has actually changed. Players are friendlier. The league is more about brand building than personal rivalries. The days of players going at each other during all game long and carrying that grudge into the next matchup, it's really rare now. So I guess from all this, what's the takeaway? Gary Payton was one of the greatest trash talkers in NBA history, but even he had to admit Larry Bird was just different. Bird wasn't just one of the best trash talkers, he was one of the best players the game has ever seen as well. And the best part, he backed up every word. But what do you guys think? Do you miss the trash talking era of the NBA? Who do you think is the best trash talker in today's league? And let's talk about it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives in NBA history if you enjoyed this video. My name is Damian Peters. This is Basketball Network. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.